at this track here. The racetrack size is 80 by 40 meters, 25 meters long from the driver's stand up there, so we're able to see everything. But what a special place. Great to be back here in Sweden.
Yeah, beautiful facility here. All the stops for this World Championship. Some covered pits, plenty of power for all the races. The amenities here are amazing for the races themselves. They have a ton of areas to like clean the car and do all the sort of maintenance. I've been here for 5, 6, 7. It's been a few years since I've been to this on-road World Championship, so I'm excited to see how this all plays out. It's amazing to watch the
Well, I've never been to They do have about 8% oil, maybe about 8% oil, the rest of it is methanol. But yeah, these things are incredibly fast as we watch here. And then they also have a 2-speed transmission, correct?
Quick train foam tires, 2-speed transmission. They get maybe give or take 4 to 5 minutes of runtime. So there's going to be some pit stops here throughout the weekend too when we get into the finals. But super high-paced action. These guys, I think, were averaging low 13 seconds through the seating. And just amazing to watch these guys rip around this track. It has a pretty decent amount of elevation change. If you stand on the straightaway, you look uphill to see the backside. So very unique
so a lot of
layout
these banks are turned here.
Yeah.
I apologize, did not get a chance. I should have counted them this morning, but right there, that left-hander has some nice banking in it. A couple of them are kind of flat, too. So, yeah, car setup will be critical here. And you talked about the fuel consumption, or the burn, if you will. Chatting with Scotty, he said that the heats are 4 minutes long, and he said some of these guys might be running out of fuel, so they'll be right on the edge because this track has so much wide-open throttle time.
If you walk around the pits at any time during the day, you will find a driver or a mechanic with their engine running, revving it to the moon as they work on a very, very fine line on the tune on these. So as the temperature changes, the humidity changes, they spend quite a bit of time tweaking on the needles of the carburetor to get it just right, and just sitting in the pits rev bombing these poor little engines to get it just right, to get the response they want. They tune on the clutches and everything. So it's been fun for me to get all this kind of back in the flow and see these guys working hard each and every round. I mean, as soon as they get done, you think you have an hour or two between rounds, they could take a break, but they're wrenching away, making sure they cross all their T's and dot all their I's, so to speak.
And so to put it in perspective, what Charlie was just talking about, revving these things up, from what I'm told, the RPM band on these things is 40 to 45,000 RPM. He did talk about the 2-speed. As we watched, I'm not sure who's driving the red car here. Beautiful job of apexing these turns and how consistent they are here. I want to watch this red car make a full lap here up through this left-hander. This right-hander will come back through the final left-hander. Notice the stripe right there. That is start-finish, so that's something we'll want to keep an eye on. And talking to some of the mechanics, they want that car in second gear just about the time it hits that start-finish line.
Right. The fastest lap times, they'll be shifted right as they get to the line there. So they're topping those out all the way down that main straight.
Really chopping off that curb as well. Again, we'll keep an eye on this one and help you out here because it's all about track line. You can see all the way 4 wheels onto the curb right there. Again, down to the bottom. Watch right here. Boom. Completely over the curb. All 4 wheels there to straighten out the track just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a balance of staying kind of where the grip is and getting down on that paint. Sometimes they'll get too deep in there, car gets upset, or, God forbid, they get down and do the lawnmower man, get into the grass a little bit.
Yeah, because these things are on the ground. That was one of my questions, in big sports car racing, typically there is a minimum ride height rule. There is no minimum ride height rule here, so they have these things as low as possible. Aero plays a huge role here in this style of racing, so whenever they set these cars up, that aero will provide a lot of weight for these cars at speed, so they are down on the ground.
Often it seems like the faster they're going, the more grip they get. As you get into the top heat, you'll see them come through the short chute and just kind of not even slow down and rip through that on power. So it's very interesting. It's kind of like a boat. It needs to be up on plane before it's going good, and that's when kind of all the aero kicks in, gets the suspension pressed down. And foam tires, they're doing a handout tires here as well, where they have a limited amount of tires to run through. They can run, I think, 1 to 2 runs on a set. But it's, for me, last time I was at a race, they chew tires down to their perfect size, have different compounds that they'd be working with. But at this World Championship, everybody working on the same tire program. So interesting to see the or the car change handling throughout the run too. Sometimes they come out very stable, and a few minutes in they'll get a little loose as the practice goes on and the tires start to take their cone.
So Charlie brings up another great point here. They'll be using a controlled tire, one tire brand for all, one diameter front and rear here, all for official racing used here this weekend per the IFMAR rules. So the Matrix 8 front tires at 32 degrees, Japan edition 69 millimeters, and then for the rear it is a 35, do they call it degrees? 35 degree Japan edition 76 millimeter?
That's a durometer rating.
Durometer, okay.
How hard they are.
Yep.
So they run a little bit.
I just had a chance to touch them a little bit. I mean, a squishy tire. Feels like they have some pretty good grip. They are not allowed to doctor the tires in any way, shape, or form, if you will. I'm sure there's a lot of magicians out there that can get some more grip out of these tires. But they actually have what we call in big sports car racing a parc fermé. I don't know if you refer to that here or not in RC racing, but when they go into parc fermé, that's the only time they're allowed to handle their fuel and their tires.
Right. So there's a check-in process where they have to wait in line and they release the hounds, so to speak, into the booth. They get handed their designated fuel bottle and their choice of their tires. Each driver has a box with their amount of tires that they're working with, either their reruns or their new sets. So they'll go through, pull that out, and then they go out onto the post or the pre-race table to get everything warmed up, more constant revving of the engines as they pick out their tires. And then after the race, they go through post-race tech. So they have to turn the cars in to go through a tech. So you can have your run thrown out if you don't have it on point before you get out there. So.
Yeah, a couple of so Charlie talking about a number of the rules that you have to follow here at this level of competition for RC style racing. To add to it, when they're refueling down there on pit road, the car has to come over the wall. It can be right over the top of the wall. Doesn't have to be behind the wall, but it can't be in front of the wall in any shape or form. If so, you could receive a stop-and-go penalty. There's also, as we show the track out, or pit out, I should say, there's a blend line there, but the blend line is not in effect. The second they clear the wall, looks like the cameraman's following us, thank you. You can see that blend line there and how far out it goes. You do not have to follow that. Actually, you can see a little bit of black there just past where the wall ends, and that's where they're able to turn left and come out onto the track, as you can see right there. Here's the kicker. If you do impede somebody's lap or cause an incident, it's a massive stop and go.
Yeah, well, usually it's going to be much worse than stop and go as the contact happens. These guys don't like staying on the ground once they hit another car.
So pretty cool stuff, and as you can see, these things are absolute rocket ships.
Yeah, this is after the seeding. So during the seeding, they do 3 consecutive laps, and they group the field in speed, if you will. So the top guys will be towards 10, 11, and 12, and the lap times will get even lower. The lines will get even tighter, and the cars will be down. Like I said, I think it is a 13-second lap time, if I'm not mistaken.
See a little smoke coming out of the green card there. Does that typically mean it has a bit of a rich setup in it? I mean, typically I would think these guys probably want to be safe. And keep in mind, it's pretty cool out there this morning. You talked about tuning these engines, and they are very temperamental in regards to atmospheric conditions.
Definitely.
So I don't know if they have any weather stations out there where they monitor grains of water or what the temperature is, humidity is or not, but I would think that is something that they would pay attention to here to get these things as crisp as possible.
A lot of the teams offer benchtop weather stations. They'll tell you temperature, humidity, the barometer, all that fun stuff like that. So they do have some of that at their disposal. And as you mentioned, the smoke is something that you'll see change kind of throughout the day and sometimes with the heats. Some of the tunes are going to be a little more visible on the smoke. Some of them you'll think that they're running a little lean because they have no smoke, but maybe they're going for it, and that's maybe that motor's last couple runs, if you will. These guys have a lot of engines that they've been working with throughout the week to find their perfect setup, what the driver likes for feel, and of course to have a spare in case there are any problems. But the tune does vary quite a bit from heat to heat and, of course, throughout the day as well. But I see some bad luck there. Put it into the grass. Looks like these guys are still in their warm-up period, so no harm, no foul there. So they get a minute or two of warm-up laps to get their final tune on, get some temperature in the tires, make sure everything's okay. They bring them back into the pit lane, and then they grid them up. I think they roll them out one by one, if I remember correctly from the conversations we had in the van last night. But our official race starter with the green checkered flag, green for go. We got, oh, I forgot about name butchery. We're going to have a very good time with all these international names. So they roll them out one by one, the original IFMAR style. And what that does, it allows the racers
360 on pit road right there.
to get a little spaced out.
Style points for that?
They're all on their own clock on the same track, so they try to get them gapped out so nobody has to race each other. But no, unfortunately, Ken, no bonus points for tricks or stunts in racing. I wish. I would have done a lot better in racing if that was the case. Could have been somebody.
So I know a number of our fans that have tuned in and watching us now would like to hear some more what we call nat sounds in the industry, natural sounds, and the staff here is working on it. We literally just got off of a plane. It was a 21-hour trip from the States yesterday, and everybody got here first thing this morning setting everything up. So bear with us for a few minutes. Everybody's working on the technical issues, and we'll bring it all to life here for you very soon.
As we ride around with Hiroki Murai, a Japanese racer here in the red and white, into that uphill, short hill, or downhill there.
Big tumble back there.
Yeah. You get off that grass, and because the bodies are so low, there's not a lot of give. It'll hook an edge and just go for a tumble right away.
Yeah, I would think it wouldn't take much. Like you say, if you stick that nose in the grass, I mean, it doesn't take much at all. They're literally down there just about scraping the asphalt. So
I will say this, of the grass tracks that I've been to that have grass infields, this is about perfect for A-scale, because if they get off the grass and they're upside down, they can drive the cars through the grass to get back onto the track. And a lot of places, it's so deep, so to speak, that once they get out there, they can't get going anymore. So did see a lot of drivers able to self-recover through practice once they got out into the weeds.
Boy, again, I'm so amazed all the time. I saw, some of the absolute best in off-road there at our Visions event, and the consistency that the drivers are able to put together, the corners, the turns, and do so for, well over an hour, or whatever the case may need to be. A little incident right there through that left-hander, but watching this car here, I mean, spot on his lines every single lap.
Yeah, and we're just getting warmed up. Like I said, after the seating, these are technically the slowest guys through the practice, so it's only going to get better from here. And as much as I love off-road racing, there's the intensity of the on-road stuff. I think off-road has a lot of tempo and pace to it, where on-road is kind of on your marks, chomping at the bit the whole time. And ACL Nitro is kind of that upper echelon with all the downforce, all the traction, all the horsepower that they can deal with. So, but we stay on board with Murai here as he works down that back straightaway. It does go uphill before that downhill bank, so it is quite the challenge for the cars. So we switch over now. I believe this may be William. Yep. From, I believe, that is the Taiwan flag in the red and white car. Again, the switchback section been a punisher throughout practice as they try to tempo through those curbs, and because it's going away from the driver's stand, I think you get a real good visual line in it, so it makes you want to drive real aggressive through there.
So the car is weighing in at about 5 pounds. I believe minimum weight is 2,350 grams, which is just a tick over 5 pounds to give you an idea of these vehicles, making about 3 horsepower or so, 3.5 cc engines, or 21s as they call them, correct?
0.21 cubic inches.
Cubic inches, right.
What an odd specification.
Right. So it goes.
Originally, RC car racing stemmed from what was airplane racing. So that was the size engine that they had for airplanes way back in the day. And then people started to develop dedicated car engines, so to speak. More ports, bigger intakes, bigger exhausts, more horsepower.
And, chatting with one of the engine builders down there, or one of the mechanics, he called it a diesel, and everybody's like, no, it's not diesel. Diesels don't have plugs. He said, neither do these. They are spark plugs. They have glow plugs.
My understanding,
it does kind of function like a diesel.
Yeah, my understanding is not only is it a diesel, it's a two-stroke diesel.
It's a two-stroke diesel. That is correct.
Right.
Like the old Detroits back in the day, and some of the big trucks, they were two-stroke diesels.
Yeah, glow
so
plugs.
They fire every time they come up.
Yeah. But to watch these guys go through their start procedures before the race, they have a bump box. They have a little box with a rubber wheel in it that they set the car on that lines up with the engine. They push on it, spins the wheel, and it's like a hand crank for the motor. And then the warm-up procedure begins where they start to do rev bombs and listen to the magic gurgle. It looks like that was a bobble for our leader on his outlap. Dropped a tire off the curb, went for the wild ride, and still collected himself now. So Maury going to take back over that top spot. And that was, I think, wrapping it up.
As we keep an eye on things here, something else of note here for the bodies, they do have a rear gurney that is adjustable, It has the way the gurney is designed, it comes off the tail end of the body and has a built-in wicker, if you will. A lot of times wickers can be adjustable, removed, and a little wider one or a little thinner one, depending on how much downforce you're looking on the back of the car. This wicker is actually controlled and part of the gurney, so the gurney can slide up or slide down to capture a little more air, but it's basically a fixed design once it gets to the bend of the wicker. So something to keep in mind there. And the two body styles that are most popular, from what I understand, are Hyper Diablo and Super Diablo. So those will be the two bodies that you will see the most out here. And they have some big side plates, some sill plates, if you will, all the way throughout the body, but it's really to trap the air and keep it right over the top of the body for maximum downforce, as you were talking about. And they get to speed, squat the car down, changes the ride height a little bit. Lower is better all the time for CG. And, of course, plants the tires.
Right. You see the shapes just over the tire, drops down to give that aero effect to create downforce, and it just is a huge sidewall or air dam that brings everything back. And like you said, that rear spoiler is adjustable. There is a whole tech procedure that they go through that the bodies meet minimum and maximum widths and heights as well, because the wings can't be too huge, apparently.
Yeah, for the fans at home, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, you can see the two black screws on the back of the body. You cannot see that gurney that I'm talking about because it's clear, but that part is adjustable. They loosen those screws and it can slide up and slide down.
And those all have tech stickers on them as well, because that's
right.
The part
Yeah,
that
I noticed the tech sticker on that one. I don't know if I'd want to put it on my gurney, to be quite honest with you, but what do I know?
I think they can tech as many as they need, because I see guys going over there every morning, because you get in a wreck and the body gets tore up pretty bad. There's some guys painting bodies last night before we were leaving, getting their emergency race program back together.
Use a sticker. The numbers are, I don't know if it's a number sticker, but there were some big round stickers that they're putting on the sides of the cars, and they're pretty good size in comparison to the body itself.
Yeah, as they seat them in the heats, they give them car numbers so that for the race officials that call penalties and keep track of drivers, rough driving, things like that, they can call them out by number and refer to their heat sheet and see what's going on and dole out the penalties. But in a warm-up here, they get a minute or 2 minute warm-up before the start to get everything going, make sure that the turn marshals get out into position, and everybody has a nice, fair race. The drivers, if you didn't know, after their race, they have to go out on the track and do the corner marshal duty, where they sit at one of the designated areas and collect the crashed cars. There's a procedure. If there's a flame out or damage and they have to return a car to the pit lane, they run it to the next closest marshal, and they take off and hand it off. It's like a very terrible game of relay to get the car back to the pit lane.
A game you don't want to be a part of if you're driving, right? So we're still sorting some things out here as we work through a couple of issues. Much like a race team, we have a lot of information going on here.
Don't tell people about my issues.
There are issues. So once again, just stay with us. We will focus on stuff, and then you'll hear us stop talking for a little bit as we're working on some things here, working through some bugs and some issues to get things sorted out.
It's okay,
we can sort out some of the electronic issues. Our personal issues they're stuck with.
I don't think they have a therapy program for my issues, unfortunately. I love RC cars way too much, they say. But we work our way through the program here, heat number 3 of 12. So this has been the, I guess, slowest 30-year competitors, or maybe with the worst luck from the seeding rounds. A lot of the racers that go to world championships take it extremely seriously, but they're definitely don't have the time and experience that some of the pros do to really lay it down under the pressure. And more so, you get to one of these races and you do start to feel all that pressure, and what would normally be an easy 4-minute run turns into a nightmare of second thoughts and what am I doing here?
Yeah, you want to get out here and try your skills, though, against the best, right?
Right.
I mean, it's an incredible opportunity. By the way, this World Championships, as far as I know, started off in 1977. Obviously, 2023 here, but we've not competed since 2019 when we were at Fontana, California, obviously because of COVID. So every 2 years is when it takes place, 2019 being the last, missed 21. We're back here in 23 to put some of the numbers on it. We've had 14 different winners from 8 different countries and 22 events over the course of the past 46 years. And only drivers with more than one win is one guy. That is Lombardo Colorari, and he has 9 of them, 5 consecutively between 89 and 97, then 4 more consecutively between 2003 and 2009 in terms of countries, because you have to have a representative here from the countries, and we have 21 different countries competing here this weekend, which is incredible. But we've had 8 different countries come away with a win here since 1977. Italy leading those, obviously, in large part because of Lombardo, who has 9 wins, so he really brought it home for them. After that, it's USA and Japan tied up at 3. France has 2. Then it's Switzerland, the Netherlands, Great Britain, and Germany, who all have 1. So pretty cool. And this World Championships since 1977 has been held in 12 different countries, with the USA holding the most at 7 different events.
Mr. Calari put the stamp on Italian A-scale nitro racing in his heyday, if you will. There was nobody beating that guy at a lot of the races that you went to. So it's been kind of a shock and awe thing since I've been around the races to kind of meet him firsthand.
Yeah, I saw him walk by last night. Didn't have a chance to shake his hand. And, yes, he is here competing. So pretty cool to have somebody that's done that, had that level of success here, knowing that not another person has ever won more than once.
Having that kind of experience and being in the game and behind the ball and being able to put together that many wins over the years has got to be confidence inspiring for the team to have that, kind of to lean on. So, but we are underway here, race number 3. The leader goes by the name F. That's it. His whole name's F. People from Thailand have interesting names. You ask them how to spell it. There's nope. You just put a letter. It's fine.
Close enough.
I think we are on
more than 26. You're in trouble.
Right. We're on board here with Mr. S. McCall from, looks like, Great Britain. They're showing the consecutive times here, which is not what they will use for qualifying. It's just part of the
so it's the lowest overall combined time?
Laps and times over 4 minutes, yeah. So they'll say they're doing, let's say, 15-second laps. That's 4 per minute. So you'd have 16, maybe 17, 18 laps type of thing in a 4-minute run.
And so from what I understand, talking with Scotty Ernst, who's also a race director, by the way, this weekend, he said, right, that's a thankless job. There's only one person that comes away that only likes you at the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
But each car has its own individual clock that starts. When they start, when they go across the start-finish line, it starts their specific clock. So it makes sure that everybody does have a fair opportunity for the 4 minutes. So if the first car across the stripe starts their clock. If somebody's back over by turn 2 and still has to navigate through the rest of the course, they do not lose any time. Whenever they cross start-finish, their 4-minute clock starts as well.
Yeah, and it makes it, that's why they move out of each other's way and they're not racing each other door to door out there. They do kind of give way. The announcer even call the leader so that the other racers know what to do and how to yield when they need to. But it is a little confusing for some because qualifying versus racing type of deal, but they do get several rounds of qualifying that they get us into our semifinals, and you're never really out of it at a nitro race. They do bump-ups, so the top racers from the lower mains bump into the upper main. So there have been legendary stories of racers having very bad qualifying runs and then having an epic main day where they race their way, maybe not all the way to the win, but at least to the championship final. So.
Yeah, of course, in big car racing, they certainly have that as well. I think the best example would be the Chili Bowl, where they have up to an MA main. So we call it the alphabet soup as you work your way through the A mains on a particular Saturday. If you're racing Saturday morning, you've got a long day ahead of you because you want to make the show Saturday night, obviously. But, yeah, exactly right. The opportunity is there. You're going to have an incredible day and beat a lot of cars, pass a lot of cars, but the opportunity is there to bump up.
At an event like a World Championships or even a National, you'll run into a situation where a new racer that had a bad qualifying weekend for whatever reason gets some tips from the top pros, either on setup or tire topics or even driver stuff, kind of comes into their own on the track, and they have a fantastic main day, and they go from a bottom to a middle main and kind of make a name for themselves kind of coming through the ranks. So it's always very exciting come finals day, even if you're not in the main. As Scotty says, if you have a chip and a chance, so to speak, you can get your way in there.
Yeah, if you're starting off in the back of the pack, I call it a target-rich environment.
Lots of targets. I think we may be on board. Oh, that's the time on this one. They're bringing them in. And pit entrance is dangerous. That's a concrete wall that runs all the way down the front straight. They come out of that corn full pepper at the pit lane, and there's just a little rubber block on the end of it. And I always thought for sure I was going to hear some catastrophes because they come in pretty aggressively, even through the practice seats. But somehow those guys had it dialed in, and they all seem to avoid it. But I feel like that's Infinity's front-end sales wall.
The adjustability in these cars is it always boggles my mind as I go out and take a look at them. Obviously, the clutch game, I'm sure, is very intense. Some springs involved in that one to get things to work exactly the way you want it to work. Also, the dampers are adjustable to a degree, not like a larger damper where there's different shims inside, but they can change the pistons. They can change the viscosity of the oil to speed things up, slow things down. So there's a number of options there to really get them the way they want. Obviously, spring rakes, I'm sure, are a huge deal as well.
Positions of the shocks, roll centers, cambers, casters. There's probably more adjustability in an RC car than there in a lot of the full-size cars as far as the range they can go through. Over my years of doing various jobs throughout the industry, I've worked with some engineers for full-size sports that get into RC so they can kind of exercise their mind and see what all these things do. Maybe prove out some theory, because you move a ball stud over on an RC car, that's like changing a whole suspension arm on a full-size car, so they can kind of do some proof of concept there and get an idea what's going on. And huge range of adjustment on these cars as far as tuning goes. They have different style front ends that they can run in them, different style rear ends, wide, narrow. They even do different thicknesses of material to get more or less flex out of the front chassis and the suspension components. So.
Very, very cool, yeah, which would, same way in karting, I think. They'll use different diameter tubes, depending on what flex they're looking for. If they want it rigid, if they want it soft. Yeah, it's incredibly complex here. There's a lot of options here. So if you think you're going to roll out here and school these guys, I got news for you.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the experience comes in. These teams all have a random old guy that knows tons about car setup because he's been the one that's either not racing or keeping track of all the tunes, and why these guys rely very heavily on their mechanic, because maybe the mechanic sees something staring at the car the driver doesn't see, and he knows what the driver needs. A guy like Mirai, example, he works with Hayato. Those guys have been working together for years, and Mirai's been a master mechanic to many world championships over the years. So having somebody like that on your side is very valuable, because there's just too much going on with a car setup.
So as we get down, my understanding, the tires will go about 20 minutes till they start to fall off, and they do have quick disconnects on here.
Yep.
So that they can do a quick tire change as well.
Yeah, there'll be some pit stops in the main, I think, for sure. Looking at just the tire wear that I saw yesterday, they were getting a pretty aggressive cone on the tire just from the 7 or 8 minutes that they were out there during practice. So I would imagine there's going to be most Nitro, I think it's an hour-long final, 45-minute final, and they do at least one pit stop if all goes well, maybe more than that depending on the pace.
Yeah, and chatting with Scotty, he's kind of anticipating two, which is exciting for us, of course, as well, and to see how quickly they can come in and obviously refuel. They'll refuel first, and then if they want to make a tire change, they will, and try to get that all done. And with a tire change, you're thinking maybe 15 seconds or so. Does that sound about right?
I'd want to say total lap add-on is going to be less than 10 seconds, even with the tire change.
That's impressive.
The fuel in and out is super fast, maybe a 4 or 5 second add-on, and the tire change is so fast you almost don't see it. They flip the car on its side, the tires are on and off before you even blink. So. But these guys working through their warm-up lap, or warm-up session before the qualifier. They bring them in. They're going to do a temperature check and make any final tunes. They can, if the motor's running a little hot, they'll usually richen it up. If it's a little cool, they'll lean it out just to get maximum power. They'll have kind of a target temperature that they're looking for, and also coinciding with the driver for what they need for feel. And some of it comes down if this is their qualifying motor, the tune that they have on it for duration or runtime or whatever the case may be.
Well, that's an interesting concept there. So will they use two different engines, a qualifying engine and then a race engine?
I think some of them definitely will. They did so much practice here in the build-up to this that some of them were on motor 2 or 3 already, and some of them were making changes for the seating to get a little extra out of the car, or even run a final shakedown on their spare motor, so to speak. So part of the game. In racing, there's nothing trumps spares. So if you have lots of spares, hopefully you won't need them. Guys rolling out a little tight up front there. That's not usually what you want to see. You want to get them spaced out as much as possible, but they don't roll out in a timely fashion. They do get bunched up like that, and somebody's going to have to give up some space, lose a little bit of time. Or make a mistake.
Feeling the pressure right there. Yeah, obviously.
Give it away.
Yeah, it was a good point. I saw somebody have a bit of a bobble on pit road when they were all leaving that interrupted everything. So the next three guys were backed up just a little bit. They all took off at the same time, and I think that's what caused that bunch up. Now they've kind of sorted themselves out.
Yeah, space is your friend in qualifying. Gives you enough time to make a bobble or make up some ground and not have to worry about another car being in your way. But you see the line differences here as we start to heat things up, working our way through the round. They're getting a little more into the paint more consistently. Their line coming out of the corners a little more straight, a little less bobble in the car. As I say, that steps out just a bit.
A little loose, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Give me an approximate number of laps before the tires have some temp in them and really start functioning properly.
The first couple laps probably that they're doing in the warm-up, they get them up to temperature and get that kind of first scuff on them, if you will, because they're out there hammering around full throttle from go. So 3-4 laps maybe, I think, and everything's up to race temperature if I had to guess. Maybe less than that. They do so much rev bombing in the pits, it's hard to say what's going on.
So a couple of minutes left inside of this one, 2.5 minutes. Heat number 4 of 12, as you talked about. And how many rounds will they have here today?
I believe it's 4 today, if I'm not mistaken. Yesterday they ran 4 rounds. Today they're going to run 4 rounds, but there's less track time. Because for the seeding rounds, they ran 7-minute heat, so they come and do a pit stop and carry on, try to hot lap it. Today, 2-minute warm-up and a 4-minute race, so a little bit less time. Because they had a warm-up yesterday as well.
And so help me out here. We talked about a combined time. How you end up with your score, if you will, at the end of this heat race is based on combined time of the 4 minutes. Now, for all 4 heat races, will they combine all 4 combined times? Does that make sense?
I'm glad you asked, because qual points is one of the most confusing topics in all of RC Motorsports.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ken.
What a segue. Each round, they do their laps and times, and it sits them in an order for that round. So fastest guy gets a 1, slowest guy gets 120. And that resets every round. And they do this so that if track condition changes and the track gets faster or slower, there's not what's called a rocket round, that you have to do well that round. So kind of their way of equalizing the running order on the track and all of that, so that it's not a rocket round style of qualifying that one of them matters. And they take either 2 of your 4 or 4 of your 6, depending on how many total rounds there are. I did not do my homework on this one, folks. I'm sorry. We'll find all that hard information out for you. And if anything, I'm sure the chat is blowing up with super brain information. Those guys usually correct all of our mistakes that we make up here. So
exactly.
It's nice of them to pay attention.
I do know they do have staggered starts here for the heat races, so everybody has a chance to start towards the front of the group.
So, yeah, each round they run them typically in the same order all day, so race 1 through 12 won't change, but they start on a different
for example,
heat.
If you're number 1 in the first heat, you start up in the front, but if you're number 4, you might start up in the front of the second heat.
Heat races, actually. So instead of starting on race 1 on round 2, they'll start on race 4 instead. And then they'll run 4 through 12, then back around 1, 2, 3, and then that shifts through. How accurate that is for this race, I don't know. I'll ask Scotty later, and we'll find out. The Super Brain's probably telling everyone in the chat already, so thanks, Super Brain. A group of people in the chat room is smarter than I ever could hope to be, so they have Google.
So once again, the weather here, nice and brisk this morning. I mean, beautiful day for sure. Sun out. It'll warm up quickly, but it is a little bit on the brisk side. Supposed to end up, I believe, in the mid-70s or so before everything's all said and done. So just absolutely perfect weather.
It's been very SoCal-esque. A little cold in the morning, sunny in 70s all afternoon for the first couple of days. Looks like the weather guessers are going to guess that for us the rest of the week as well. So hopefully that holds out. Beautiful shot there as they go down the straightaway and make that hard left up the hill, climbing through the switchbacks. And like I said, this is an uphill section. There's a little bit of an elevation change just going up that hill, and they come back down the roller coaster, back to the front straight. And they flirt with disaster. And looks like, yeah, that is time on this one. Takahiro Izimoto going to take home the win in this one. Mitsushiro Nishimo in the 2 spot. Katsuhiko Ashida going to finish 3rd. And Jan Gert in the 4th spot.
Yeah, some tough names here, to say the least, here before it's all said and done. My understanding, approximately 120 entries.
12 heats of 10 is what I was told, and I think that if I do my math right, all day long, that's 120. But sometimes there's racers that are signed up but not here, so it'll be just under that. World Championships typically run, from my experience, right around 100, 120, 30 people, depending on how active the different blocks are. Each of the various affiliate blocks gets a fixed number of entries allowed to go to the Worlds, and if they don't fill that up, they are offered up to other blocks that have extra drivers. Typically, it goes to the local block because obviously it's easiest for them to get here. So
to fill in, sure.
Beautiful mountain in the background here at Infinity Raceway. It's a kind of a nice picturesque drive through the countryside on the way in. You get to see lots of Japan from the hotel to here, so it's been nice each morning.
To put it in perspective, we're about 4 and a little bit less than 5 hours outside of Tokyo, and I believe, looking at the map, I think we're southwest a bit of Tokyo, but a little bit less than 5 hours away.
I keep forgetting the name of the town, but if I look at Inabe, we're in Inabe, Japan. And it's
I've been calling it Nagoya.
We're just outside of Nagoya, apparently, but this little town is called Inabe, apparently. So. Thanks, Google.
Somebody said, I didn't know you could speak Japanese. I said, Google is my friend.
Right.
It's amazing. Amazing. You can put the app on there and hold it up to the menu, and it comes across in English. It's crazy.
What do we do without technology these days?
Ask a friend.
Heat number 5 getting ready to roll out here. They're in their warm-up. They get about, I think it's a 2-minute warm-up if I'm not mistaken. They get some heat in the tires, do some tune checks. Because as much as they rev bomb them in the pits, there's nothing like some hot laps to really see what the motor's doing.
Yeah, to stress them, put them under a real-life mode and our load, I should say. So and then they pull them back in, and they actually check the temp of the engine.
All of the pitmen have an infrared temp gun. They hit that on the top of the motor. It gives them an operating temperature then and there, and they have a range that they're looking for. Now, don't quote me. I want to say it's 200-plus degrees for the most part on the head, and they try to keep it below like 240 if I remember. But I should have asked. I'll find out. Someone in the chat's like, no, Charlie, idiot, you should know better. I'm an electronics guy, so I haven't raced Nitro in a minute. L. Sam in this one. Shigeru Hosada. B. Lorenzo. That's a good one.
I had Lorenzo. I was going to cover that one for you.
Yumiko Fushimoto. Matsutaka Kuwamoto, I think. Nobuhiro Sakai. Kenji Taira. Michio Hashima. Sutoma Asahara.
And Joseph.
E. Joseph.
E. Joseph.
It's a good one.
Didn't get the first name on that one.
I'm sure that'll all be updated. I was looking at the heat sheet, and some of them are in Japanese. Like, I couldn't read any of it, so I was very confused.
Yeah, and that's not one you could stare at and start to put together. Yeah, it's never coming.
What do they call it? The letters are kanji. It's like little house, stick man, looks like a barbecue grill symbol. Like, what is this stuff even mean?
It's pretty wild. It's great to be over here, though. First time for me to be over here in Japan and take a look at some of the culture and some of the roof lines over here. As you watch, as we made our trip over on the houses, are exactly as you would anticipate them to be. I mean, just beautiful structures for sure.
The architecture in Japan is beautiful.
It's incredible.
Did you see the Carpez machine? The building across the parking lot from us?
I did not.
It's like a 15-story, 1-unit wide, tall building that's a parking structure.
Oh, wow.
And you bring your car in there, and an elevator takes it up and parks it over on the side. It's crazy. I've been trying to get a video of it operating, but
yeah, where we're staying is about an hour away from the racetrack in the city, so it's a beautiful place for sure and completely different. Came over here, there was a big area of bamboo. I don't know if you happen to catch that. The stuff is extremely evasive, so when it gets going, it's hard to stop it. But exactly what you would expect over here, but it is scenic and beautiful for sure.
We drove through some rice paddies on the way in.
We didn't drive through the paddy, but we –
I mean, kind of. It looked like we were going to go onto a sidewalk, like you were saying. And
he turned left. I thought it was a walking path, but apparently it was a road, so – Heat 5 beginning right now.
When we went down there yesterday, I'm like, where's this guy taking us? This doesn't look like we're going to society, to the killing field. So. Green flag racing here as they get underway with El Sam from, that's the Hong Kong flag. I remember.
Good job.
Coming out swinging. They get an out lap, and that starts the clock as they come by. That's why their finish times are usually about 30 seconds after the master clock starts, because the first lap doesn't count as they roll out of the pits.
Some of our volunteers out there as well. And not near as much, on the off-road style of racing. They're tumbling on a regular basis out here. They're pretty solid.
Yeah, the on-road guy's going to hit their mark because there's no jumps. And the track's smoother, so there's not just random RC voodoo throwing their car from the surface. A lot less character, as they say, in an on-road track.
Yeah, you really need to be spot on. Obviously, the lap times get much tighter, especially with the seasoned pros that are so consistent.
Down into the low 14s now. I think we started in the 15s in the first couple heats, which is 14.2, 14.8 for our top couple runners there. And that's going to put them on pace for 17, maybe an 18-lap run. I think if they get down into the low 13s consistently, they can do an 18.
I'd heard rumors of 13-second lap times a day ago?
I believe so. I think Hayato was doing 13s in his seating because he was at like 40 and some change for his seaters. I can't remember exactly.
You mentioned it at the top of the show. It's an 80 by 40 meter track. To put it in perspective, if you're from the States, 262 by 131 foot or 87.5 by 43 3/4 yards. So if that helps you out a little bit, give you an idea. But what you need to know is it's an absolutely perfect size here for this scale of racing.
Yeah. Working together.
Nice move right there. And respectful move, by the way, by one to get up out of the way.
Picking the spots to let them go without losing too much time because you pick the wrong spot and you get out in the dirt. One of the things with the tire wear situation, getting it all kinds of wrong there. You see, he just dropped the tire, couldn't bring it back on the surface and went for the wild. Whoa. Yee! Getting very aggressive with the throttle inputs. Oh, and barely able to scoot himself across the grass, found the high spot. No marshals rushing to his assistance.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It looked like he went to put it down, and he probably hit the throttle, which moved it around in the guy's hand. It looked like he threw it, but my guess is he hit the throttle and it yanked the car up out of his hand.
Hadn't quite let go yet. That's a bummer.
They're pretty snappy whenever these guys hit them, that's for sure.
So one of the things they do between rounds is a lot of the clutch tuning. They'll hold the car on the ground kind of firmly and then wrap the throttle on and off and have the magic feel for where it pulls out of their hand. And it looks like it's about to get away with them, like they're holding a little tiny bucking bronco on the ground.
Talk to me about the radios themselves. They're different models, different versions. People like different options.
Yeah, there's a handful of major brands: Sanwa, Futaba, KO, FlySky is out there as well. I'm sure I'm missing lots. Futaba, and they all have some upper echelon radio systems that have very, very fast refresh rates for the communication protocol between the receiver and the radio, so that everything stays in contact. We're talking less than 2 or 3 milliseconds in some situations, so there's no latency on the input from the drivers, and that's one of the big things for these guys. These cars are going so fast that any sort of delay between the radio system and 2 or 3 milliseconds sounds like nothing, but at 60, 70 miles an hour through the infield when you're making these fine maneuvers, that turns into a foot real fast from when you move the wheel to when the car responds. So very high-end radio systems, very, I guess, little teeny tiny receivers that they use now. They try to get some more antenna on them compared to the way they used to be because that's all part of the tech to get some signal up and out of the car so that it gets good, clean signal. But
anybody using sticks?
Yes, lots of drivers using sticks. A lot of the European, Japanese guys, they like to use the stick radios, but primarily pistol grip the wheel and trigger style radio for most folks. I've tried to drive stick radio for a while, and it's doable. It just takes some getting used to, and I think that where it made a difference for me was when I get nervous. You'd start to forget which way the stick was supposed to go for throttle, hit the brakes instead.
And you bring up a great point. I mean, it's one thing to go out here and run some laps, but the second another car gets close to you, either behind you or if you have one directly in front of you, to try and drive your own line, your own car, not get into them, boy, that's where the focus really comes into play.
I mean, even just getting out of somebody's way when the leader comes through and you need to move, you might crash in front of him and take the leader out. So that's always big pressure. But 17 and a 4:12 there for Nobuhiro to take home the top spot in race number 5. We work our way to some more pronounceable names here in race number 6. That guy has so many letters.
Yeah, Bo Jose Angel, would you go with that?
With a G on the front. B Daniel, H Leo. Here, you do that one. He's got it.
Hiroyuki Okuda.
Perfect.
L. Nelson. Yukihiro Matsuyan.
Yeah, that one's hard. We can't see the whole one.
Yeah. Uichi, maybe?
I think so. Uichi. That's a good one.
Seigo Tasaka.
I think Seigo? Saigo, probably.
Saigo?
Tasaka.
Yeah. Intao?
Sao. I think they say it's Sao. Yeah, I think so. It's like the beer, Tsingtao.
Well, it's like ordering General Tao's chicken.
There you see? Right? Exactly.
And S. Hamish.
I hope his name is Sam, because Sam Hamish would be a pretty cool name to have.
And once again, getting ready here for their warm-up session for heat race number 6. See all the cars there warming up. The drivers, by the way, directly above their mechanics.
On radio comms, I think all of the drivers and the mechanics have headsets because it is ridiculously loud down in the pit lane. You have not only the track, the main straightaway just in front of the pit lane, echoing into that chamber that's under there. You have the next race lined up adjacent, 10 cars lined up doing their warm-up procedures, revving up. And then you have another 10 cars just behind that on the pre-race warm-up table, revving their hearts out to us. So
it's busy down there. All the lineups, of course, as well.
Overload of noise. I'm going to do a self-plug here because I can, and Brandon's not here to tell me I can't. I work for Hobbywing, and we do a YouTube channel called Hobbywing Official. I did a walk-around of the pitch yesterday that'll be uploaded later today. So if you guys want to take a behind-the-scenes look in a few hours, that'll be live on the Hobbywing YouTube channel.
Yeah, great stuff. By the way, the driver stand's 25 meters long, so plenty of room up there for everybody, and a great overhead visual as well.
In the shade, too, they keep them out of the sun for the most part. Scotty gets to sit up there and get a nice view of all of that. And I think the driver stand, or rostrum as they call it in Europe, is one of the more important aspects of a given RC track. And that one's nice and stable. You can walk back and forth and not shake the driver stand or feel much of that. So, like I said, they pulled out all the stops here at Infinity Raceway. Just kind of a beautiful facility. You'll have to go check out the snack shop later, Ken. They have a wide selection of authentic Japanese cafe foods that are quite delicious. I got in trouble. I went back and ate too many times yesterday.
I got my red tape.
Yeah, we got
I'm legal.
Our official pass.
You're talking to a chubby guy, dude.
If you get the beef bowl, you can get it with extra beef.
I had my first meal in Japan one night ago.
Where?
Subway.
Oh, okay. That's right. When you roll with Rhodey, you don't get to try anything authentic.
Well, we just got off the plane. It was late, and we didn't know what the path was going to be on the way to the hotel.
It's a good move.
We had to wait for 20 to 30 minutes for the drivers. It's like, there's Subway right there. Let's just eat something. So that's the way it went. But that'll always stand as my first meal in Japan is Subway.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ken. That's a rough one. I've been to Japan a few times, and I try to not go anywhere where I've been before because it's always an amazing experience. My ex used to make fun of me all the time that I never ate anything. I ate like a child, so I took that personal. I started trying everything, and I'm one of those guys who will usually try most things when we go out to eat. We went to a cool little Japanese barbecue place last night with the little grill in the middle, and they bring out lots of fancy meats and cook for us. Dude, fantastic. We ate so much food last night.
Kind of like hibachi?
Yeah, sort
style?
of. Yeah, Japanese style.
Japanese style, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, I heard they kept rifling food at you.
Yeah. I was holding up the X like, no more food. We can't take it.
So warm-up session done here for heat race number 6. Working our way through half of the program here in the first round.
It's going fast. These guys are hammering through it. It's quite a bit quicker than yesterday without the 7 minutes. So at least 3 minutes faster.
Yeah, I would think so. And then everybody already, being used to the program, being out here on the track, ready to rip.
Yeah.
They've been tightening the program up.
They've been going through the pre- and post-tech process for a whole day now.
Yeah, a lot of that handled already as well. Is that a process they have to go through every day? You have to go through tech every day, or is it one time for the weekend?
Yes, every single round, because everything counts for something around here. So you can't be out there running illegal, out of spec, whatever. So through all of the practice rounds yesterday, no, never.
Not racing.
No. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and you're only cheating if you get caught.
That's just gray area.
Rules are made to be interpreted and given different perspectives, right? It's the joy of life. Well, getting a little tight here in the front, and that's, like I said, not what you want to see in your first round of World Championships, having to hold up for one of your competitors. But it's the tough part. You want to let them go, but at the same regard, if you just hit your marks, you might pull away, and then you wouldn't have slowed either one of you down.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the format is based on lowest overall time. Oh, man.
And then could have let him go, and then that would have happened. So all of these drivers are very aggressive on the not letting go or making sure that you're close. And they're not going to give you an inch until you're on them, so to speak, and it can lead to some problems. But confidence is a big thing. Just like any professional athletes out there, they got to be very confident in what they're going to do and when they're going to lay it down. And a lot of these folks are Nitro racers, especially. It's a very aggressive style of driving. You can't really go easy in these things.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, in that situation, both of those guys were pretty quick, one clearly quicker than the other, but the one that was in front wasn't going to give it up. He doesn't want to give up, even a partial second who knows where that puts him overall.
You feel like you outseated him, so you should be able to just walk away if you start hitting your marks. You just need that moment.
Well, like you said, somebody maybe had issues a day ago. They work on the car. They think about it overnight. They run a million more laps whenever they lay down. You close your eyes. It never really goes away. You just your brain keeps racing, and you come back out here the next day and put it together, and all of a sudden you're quicker.
After a day of the track, you'll lay down and close your eyes, and you can still hear the engines ripping down the straightaway late into the evening. It looks like we're on board with Hiroki Okuda. Last time by with a 14.4, this white car coming back down the hill into the switchbacks now. We'll see if he blinks as he goes across the line. And it is. Okuda looking good at the front. 2 minutes left to go. Looks like it's been a pretty flawless run so far. He, I believe, does have the one plate on the front.
Look at the overall time, 43.4 with 43.3.
14.4 there. Those are the, they still got the 3 consecutive in there, so that one's a confusing one from the seating information.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, consecutive laps. So that'll be his 3 quickest in a row as well. A lot of times that'll continue to plummet as they continue to hot lap themselves, if you will. Each lap getting a little bit quicker. Tires become part of an issue because as they run, the tires get smaller and lower profile, starts to handle better, gets into the race ride height.
Top 3 in terms of lap time, separated by a mere 0.06 of a second. It's kind of what I was alluded to before. And off-road, you can see a little more disparity, if you will, between the cars. But out here, it's so precise. When these guys really get switched on, it is tight.
Right. And just blinks of mistakes here or there. A tenth of a second is huge.
A tenth of a second, yeah. It's light years out here, right? Well, you mentioned it before, how long it takes to go a foot. You know, so imagine that with a tenth of a second. I mean, somebody's covered a lot on you. And whenever you do that times 4 minutes, it ends up being a chunk of time.
Looks like Matsuya now to the top spot. I believe he did a 14.2, 14.3, and a 14.4 to move his way to the top. And backs it up with another 14.3. So Yukihiro Matsuyama, our new race leader with Okuda in the 2 spot. I'm going to call him Sam Hamish, running third from Great Britain. I hope his name is Sam. If not, they'll probably email us. You can email all your complaints to Brandon at liverc.com.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing if they just put an initial down, I'll blame them for putting the initial down instead of the whole name. Maybe it might have been Tech. Who knows? I'm not sure who entered the info here, but all the rest of the first names are in there.
It's probably our guy. Maciano with a 14.3 that last time by. Starts to hit his mics now, and their time winding down. So Matiyana taking control of this one in the closing stages. You see there another 14.3. Not done yet. Going to check in with a 14.6 on his outlap. I believe that'll probably be the last one. They run them hard all the way to the end because they're doing fuel mileage checks. So their pit man, despite what the clock says, is running his own stopwatch so they get an idea of active laps. Because once the main starts, that's going to be a real important thing for pit stop strategy. Because even the lower mains, they're not 4-minute races. I want to say they're going to be 10, 15 minutes races. So there's still going to be a lot of pit stop strategy working your way through all the semifinals and quarterfinals. Get our total times here as they wrap this one up. Matsuyama with a 17 and a 4.06. So we're getting closer to those 18-lap runs that I think are going to be possible. Okuda, our early leader, finishes in the second. Hamish going to be third, and Daniel rounding out the field after that. Does it for race number 6. 7 now works their way. And you see they're queued up. They release the line, and here comes the smoke bomb as these guys have all been just sitting down there pluming out the driver's stand area. When the sun gets on behind the mountain, you'll have to take a look at that. It looks like they're fogging for mosquitoes in the driver's stand. It's good, though. They have designated smoking areas. You can't smoke in the pits, but you have to smoke your engine.
I will tell you, it smells incredible. Honestly, I was going to do a post, on IG a little bit earlier. Ran out of time, but I'm going to say nothing better than the sweet smells of nitromethane in the morning.
Right.
And look at our lineup here for our next heat race.
Katsutaka Miyahara. That's a good one. Yoshihiro Nagao. Kazuki Ida. Hideo Watanabe.
Robinson Scott, I'm all over that one.
Takayoshi Tanaka. Ritsu Sahashi. Oh, no. Huang Yenju. Deki Iriguchi.
And Lee Dieter.
Yeah, Lee Dieter.
Glad Lee can make it in there.
Warm-up has begun. They hold them for just a moment to get the turn marshals out there so that if you do have a wreck on your warm-up lap, you're not stranded out there for the entire time and losing so valuable warm-ups.
Everybody relatively close here in terms of how they will space out during the heat race, of course. But as you mentioned just a moment ago, really designed to warm it up, get an idea of where you're at real quickly. You don't have much time between the warm-up and the start of the heat race. At least get a feel for everybody, knock the rust off from a night ago.
Yeah, we're into the top half of the field, too, so a little more of the tryhards, maybe less vacation racers. These are going to be the folks that maybe hit their marks a little bit more consistent.
So as we continue to go down through the heat races, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the fastest guys are in the higher number heat races.
Correct,
so
sir.
The top seeds, if you will start to show up here.
Because, if I'm not mistaken, in Nitro on-road, only the top 2 are secured, guaranteed into the final. Everybody else has to race their way in. There's no top 10 qualification. It's all half semis or even semis and odd semis to race their way in. But another thing I should have looked up, I'm sorry. I was so excited to be in Japan, I just sat around watching races and making videos.
Yeah, we'll close in on some of it. We have a couple of days here to get things done, but obviously that would give us 12. And how many will they start in the main? 24?
No, 10 or 12 only.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if they take the top 2 out of the heat races, that would give us 12. So there might be a couple of bump ups.
I think it's only 10 in on-road. It's 12 in off-road, but we'll find out. It's been a minute, obviously, because they're only doing 10 in these. Usually it's almost the same as what they run in the heat races. But the chat's going crazy right now. Like, Charlie, why do you not know this? I just turned my data on my phone. I didn't look anything up. International roaming is fun.
Give them something to type about.
Right. And we gave you all the information. You wouldn't be able to show off your super brain capabilities, chat. So.
Right. Yeah, if we knew everything, what would they be able to do?
Right. The warm-ups here are going to be coming to a close probably about another lap or so. See, that's not what you want, doing victory donuts on the lap of the warm-up.
Yeah, quickly kind of parked it right there on that right-hander. But
look, you can get a real good view of the elevation change here. Like, the lower side of the track is a good 6 or 7 feet below the upper side of the track. This is end of the straightaway?
Yeah, it's end of the straightaway down in turn.
Oh, that's the
1.
mid coming back at us. Bringing them in. You see, first thing they do is get the temp gun on there. They don't want the motor to cool down idling, so first piece of information is temperature. They talk to the driver in the headset, determine if they need to do anything, and then they top off the fuel. And a lot of times they wait till the very last minute to top the fuel up. That's how close it is. See if they get a nice evened out space start. It looked like 4 was a little on the slow side or maybe not there. 5 not going, 6 not going. The flagman is getting aggressive. They had one guy miss the start, so he has to go last. They made him hold instead of getting out there into the mix. So now he'll be behind cars that's seated above him, which may be to his disadvantage. Give these guys a lap or so. We'll get a running order, find out who the leader is. But it looks like Miyahara going to come out with a 14.7 to kick things off. That's a pretty decent outlap. You see the lap times in the on-road typically get faster as the run goes on. Like I said, tire wear starts to become an issue. And they get this cone to the tire that puts more of the tire in contact the whole time around the track. They opposite cone the wheel. So it wears to the track as Mr. Daitor now with the 14.4, Nagao with the 14.4, Tanaka with a 14.5. So everybody's shuffling around here.
I believe took a panoramic shot of the tractor this morning. So I believe if you count that kink right there, it's a 9-turn track.
We can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6, 7, 8, 9. You count. I sometimes count 180s as 2 of them, though, but I think you're right, 9. So Watanabe now to the top spot. We ride along with the yellow car. We did a 14.4 that last time by, coming through our switchback section into the S's uphill. Down the back straight. I guess it's up the back straight. And through what I call the roller coaster section, because it looks like a really fun time driving down that hill. Streaks down the straightaway, 14.3 again that time by. So Watanabe taking control of this and wants to hold on to it.
Sahashi with a 2. So a couple of them, the 43-2s have popped up there. 43-1 now for Watanabe. That was a total there. I think you said the three left. Three best.
Yeah.
So the 14-3, and we saw, did we see 14-2, I think, in the last E-race?
Yeah. I've seen a couple 14-2 so far. So I want to say they were down in the 13s in seeding. I'm sad panda that I do not remember, unfortunately. But I would say that if we're at race 7 and they're already down in the low 14s, there's no doubt the top 10 are going to be into the 13s. Watanabe, Miyahara, and Yenju are top 3 in this one.
So something I was surprised about as I was down there being educated, if you will, is taking a look at these cars, is there's only one brake on these cars, and it is on the back of the car,
yeah.
not on the front of the car.
Right. They run a one-way in the front, so each of the wheels, while it will drive under load, under braking, freewheels, if you will. So when they get on the brakes, they just have rear brake. So, to my knowledge, A-Scale Racing, they make so much downforce, the cars work so well, they very rarely use push brake as they get around on the lap. It's more for getting into the pits and not braking stuff, but I could be wrong. I'm going to ask a racer on our lunch break.
But the braking is so critical, like of course, for lap time here. So, very important part of this puzzle.
I raced A-Scale once, and we never touched the brake when we were out on the lab. You couldn't.
Just letting out of the throttle.
I think a little bit. Some of these guys are probably much more talented, and maybe when the cars have super downforce, you can get into a little bit. Because I know most forms, like even two-wheel drive off-road in the dirt, you can still brake. Like it's a thing. These guys have way more traction than that. Miyahara now taking over the top spot from Watanabe as you see him dropping down the ladder. Pick up, I believe that is the red and white of Miyahara as he comes across the line. You see the green light. 42.9. That's the quickest 3 consecutive I've noticed so far. 14.4 as he comes across that last time. Tahashi with a 14.3, 14.3 for Tanaka as well.
Yeah, 42.69 there. So, yeah, putting them together.
Miyahara.
They continue to get better at their game. Oh, sure. And put that in front of us so you can see what they're saying about us.
Oh, God.
Now we're really in trouble.
Welcome to the chat. Press 1 if you are live in the chat with us right now. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in here on liverc.com. It's my esteemed honor to be here with Ken Stout, legendary motorsports analyst. Knows more about motorsports than I know about RC.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. I'm very impressed. I have an immense amount of respect for really everybody across the board. I have covered a gamut of motor racing, of course, in the career, which I've been very fortunate to be part of. But everybody, and it doesn't matter if it's lawnmower racing, if it's figure 8 racing, if it's trailer racing, everybody has a trick to the trade, and there's guys and gals that are better at it than everybody else, and certainly this form of racing is absolutely no different as we take a look at the results here.
The secret science of racing is Miyahara taking home 17 in a 405, so each round they've been knocking about a second off that overall pace, so that is good to see we start to quicken. Daniel, Raheem, Patrick, thanks. Good to have you guys in the chat with us. Good to see you. Welcome on the show.
Top third of the program getting ready to start here with heat race number 8. Mechanics down there holding the cars, warming things up.
Spewing fumes onto the track. Oh, what an interesting name there. Rapol Maxime. Oh, go on. You take that. What's that second one?
Oh, yeah. That is T-Trend. That's how you do that.
Good one. Rochi Takahashi, Genta Aoki, Kazuya Yuruki, Thurston Alex. I bet it's Alex Thurston. Chikihiro Iriguchi, Takahito Komura, Manton Ari, Sonosuke Hagemoto.
Nicely done.
I do my best anime impression.
I have a thing for that. I walked in for breakfast this morning behind Scotty Ernst, and when we were done, he spoke some Japanese to the lady. I was really impressed.
Yep.
I'm sure he said something very nice because Scotty's just a good guy that way.
Right. He's usually.
By the way, the staff everywhere I've been has just been outstanding over here.
Even the guy at the 7-Eleven is nicer than any guy at a 7-Eleven I've ever been to. The courtesy here is
yeah, they are so eager to help. It's just wonderful to be around them. Hospitality is great. I don't know why. It just feels like there's a lot more cars out here, but they're all stacked up. I think the better part of 5 of them there stacked up nose to tail as they get a little bit of heat inside of these.
Warm-up session. You see a wise one there, the pink car, saying, I don't want any part of
getting out
that.
of the squirrel's nest here.
Y'all go ahead.
Typically, how many cars will somebody show up with? I know that's a loaded question because anybody could bring anything, but talking about the top-tier racers, how many will they show up with?
At the Worlds, typically one, because that's all you can tech.
Okay.
You're only allowed one car through tech to be on the track at a time. On a practice session, not uncommon for on-road racers to have two cars, so they have a full backup ready to go, or if they're testing drastically.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to. I mean, in the trailer, if you will, in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and I didn't know if there was an option. You know, if there's different chassis. I know a lot of these guys will drive for a manufacturer. Obviously, they're obligated to that one particular car, but maybe one car suits itself a little better to this track than another.
Sure. There's definitely situations where they go to a track, maybe where the tech isn't as intense as the Worlds. Well, they'll have two or sometimes even three cars in the bag for different layouts. Some of the cars they'll build two different cars with two different chassis, different shock position, arms, and stuff like that. So there's more options that you can shake a stick at in the world of RC. I think in A-Scale On-Road, though, for the most part, each of the manufacturer has one core car design. There's not different chassis setups for them. There's not different suspensions. They stick with one, and they just have different parts to kind of tune in and out of that sort of deal.
Well, I didn't get into the weeds of the rule book, but I'm guessing that there is a wheelbase baseline here. I mean, you have to stay within a width and a length.
Right. All the sanctioning bodies have some what I call bare minimums for vehicle sizes, widths, wheels, and all that. And it's a good thing because then the manufacturers have a dimension to build to, so they can all
fits into the 8th scale, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's a minimum wheelbase. There's a minimum width, wheel width as well. All of the normal things that they have in full-size motorsports, but with no other rules in between. I think there's a handful of rules. It has to have 4 driven wheels, silly things like that, so that you're not out there in a 2-wheel drive car with some sort of crazy advantage. But
yeah, I took a picture of one of these cars standing up behind it. It was very impressive, to say the least. I mean, these things have some tires on them. I mean, they definitely have some grip, and they need it.
So that's Murai there in the bottom of the screen, the guy in the red shirt, the master mechanic. He's probably mechanic more world championships than most mechanics that you've met. And he is our host. He's kind of like the liaison for the team manager. He takes care of us, the Live RC guys. He's been my driver for the last couple days. He picked me up at the airport, so I got the VIP treatment hanging out with Murai. Very, very knowledgeable guy. He's got the magic tuning hand. I watched him do a clutch tune. Oh, this guy came out and they forgot to click the tire all the way
that's
on.
A problem.
Probably bumped it while they were working on the car in the warm-up. Got that little clip loose. Oh, no, bigger problem than that. Maybe it fell apart. He had to run it back to the table. That's not how you want to start out your world championships when you're in the top half of the field with a wheel falling off on the outlap.
Give me an idea of the consequences of that now.
Death and dismemberment for his whole family. No.
I mean, we'll lose, will it fall back a number of in the overall?
Yeah, it's depending, because it's qual points. You basically have a designated amount of rounds that won't count against you, your throwouts, if you will. So they only take your best, I want to say 3 or 4 out of 6, and for exactly that reason. So your whole race weekend isn't ruined by 1 or 2 bad runs.
So because this was at the beginning, I wonder if he gets back out there when he crosses the stripe, if he'll still get his
I was about to say, he might have been able to get it fixed, and if he gets out of the pit lane before the other car crosses the start-finish line, his clock won't start, or he'll lose a minimum or less time if he can get out there right away. So we got early leader from, that's Italy. That's a very Italian last name. Maximi. It looks like that is going to be that orange car across the line that we're riding with right now. You see him, tight lines there, just getting 2 wheels on the paint, sizing things up. Do that uphill back straightaway, back down the roller coaster now, hitting his marks. Nice and tight onto the main straight. A 42.7 top 3 consecutive. That is very close to the 42.69 we saw earlier. 14.1. That last time across the line. So we're definitely getting into the 13s. I'm going to say mid-13s by the end of the qualifying here. They seem to get faster in the afternoon as they get more fine-tuned on the motors, if you will. I think morning temperature makes better horsepower, but afternoon temperatures make better traction on the track. Maxime across the line with Ari in the 2 spot. Yuruki running 3rd, Takahashi 4th rather. T-Trin, they did it for you. They made it say T-Trin instead of whatever that number letter soup was.
Yeah, that one was pretty long.
From Thailand. The hardest names are always from Thailand. Shinosuke Hagimoto in that 6th spot. Genta Aoki in 7th. Alex running 8th. Shikihiro Iroguchi, and Takahito Komura rounding out our running order. Maxime, though, still at the front. 42-1-5, top 3 consecutive. And there it is, 13-9 already.
First one.
We're only in race number 8. And Maxime showing that Italian horsepower. Down the straightaway he goes, quickening his top 3 one more time. Ari in the 2 spot, not too far off. He's on a 43 top 3, but last time by for Maxime, another 13-9. So really starting to feel the flow right now. And you see just a little wiggle on his car as he comes out of the corner. And right at the edge of traction. Oh, almost disaster there as he looked like he went down to the grass, but able to salvage it. As I say that, pushing a little too hard, just got off the edges there. Paying the price, was on a heater run, and that is going to cost him several seconds. And usually the lap after you come out of the grass, not that great either. There's going to be either some dirt on the tires, but looks like he's proving me wrong.
A little loose right there for sure.
Yuruki now to the top spot. His top 3 consecutive, only a 43-1, but still very quick. T-Trin now moving up the ladder. Takahashi in that 3rd spot, 14-2 for Yuruki that last time across the line. 15 seconds on our master clock. Round number 1 of the World Championships for race number 8 coming to a close here. Yuruki across the line here in our pink and white, coming back down the hill. Looked a little slow coming down the hill, but maybe just the angle. You see him not getting too aggressive in the paint, playing it safe. A little bit better traction up and off of there. More consistency is the key. Here's the dong of the master clock, but they still got probably 2 laps to go. Getting a little closer in the closing stages as our leader feeling the pressure from the back. That was a very smart all-pink car from our warm-up lap. Getting some breathing room.
Yeah, really closing the gap right here. For sure, coming to go. Oh, man, nice job there. And one sitting off to the side as well as both of them navigate around that.
It looks like they were done the last lap, but don't quote me. They're racing to the line. Oh, trying to work together. That? Maybe that was your rookie in the pink. Sounds like that is a wrap. 14-4 for Yuruki to close things out. Trim with a 14-5, 14-8 for Takahashi. 17:06 final time for our race leader, and I believe that's 1 more second lower. They did a 4:07 last round. So
keep picking away at it a little bit at a time.
Bit by bit.
Take a look at the final results here.
I'm going to go meet that guy and ask him how he says his first name. Tanoguskakaiko.
That's crazy.
That's not it. It's got to have more in it or something.
I would say, can I buy a vowel, but there's a lot there.
No, it's out. He used them all. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
Yeah, beautiful shot there. Once again, as we continue on, we take a look at our next grouping.
Lamberto Collari, the legend himself, top seed in this heat.
Yeah, so because they put it that way, it does make you wonder if all of these names are first name is second.
We're probably saying them all backwards. Well, let's say them backwards this time. Takayushi Michihiro, Thomas Lorenzi. That's it, Lorenzi. That's an easy one. Mimura Kazunari, Shavit Saligupta, Flavio Elias, Andy Moore. That's a good one. Takanashi Kai, Luke Duthie, and Robin Hertong. They're all definitely backwards. We're going to have our tech guy, Jensen, fix that. You can email
Yeah, and I thought it was
Jensen.
Lamberto, so my apologies on that. I believe.
I always thought it was. I thought it was Lamberto. We got a Go Flavio in the chat. Flavio Elias from Brazil. What time is it in Brazil? You will hear us occasionally laughing for no reason. It's because producer Jensen tells us terrible jokes in our headsets that none of you get to hear. I used to always petition to get Jensen as our co-host in here because he's hilarious.
And once again, heat race number 9 of 12. Warming up here. I'm good with that, but I think they have them. Oh, we can open the window. Gotcha.
Just the, yeah. Well, I don't know. Or maybe we'll do the other one. Luke Pittman. Hi, Luke. Good to see you. I can't remember what happened to Little Luke. I think he got left at Cleveland, and he's a permanent member of the Cleveland race crew now. So these guys are in their warm-up session still. They get a 2-minute warm-up. I think it's official now. I've determined it's a 2-minute warm-up. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but I'm going to stick with it.
A little bit of a breeze out there as well as you watch the different national flags blowing just a bit.
There was a consistent breeze through most of the day, and if you sat down in the bleachers, it just smelled like nitro getting blown into your face all afternoon. If you like RC, it's nice, but
we do.
I'm a big fan. I've been doing RC since I was 8 or 9 years old. My dad used to race go-karts, and he had a couple buddies who their kids got hurt badly, so he got me into RC so I wouldn't try to race go-karts.
How I started off as well. Love the karting industry as well. My father too raced.
All good dads race karts.
I was thinner then.
As we get older, we typically pack on the pounds. That's what you want. I think if you get skinny as you get older, it's not a good thing,
yeah,
right?
Probably not a good thing.
Something's wrong. You're not very American.
You're probably drinking your dinner. Seems to be the path. Once again, everybody pulling back out over here into the pit lane. They will fuel those things back up, get them ready to go out here for their 4-minute heat race. We talked about that as well, coming off that final turn, making a mistake there. The last thing you want to do is run into the end of that wall there at pit end.
They get him in order for the starting.
Yeah, he's waving that flag around, isn't he?
Last minute top fueling.
Real quick time limit as well. I've got about a 3-second window there to get that thing down there.
The blue car of Lamberto Collari rolling out first. And you see they put him down at the very last minute because the driver is just standing up there rev bombing it until the very last moment. Green flag racing here. Race number 9 underway. IFMAR World Championships, round number 1 of qualifying.
Are you talking about rev bombing it to the last second? Is that in an effort to make sure that thing stays cleaned out?
Yep.
They load up easily.
Yeah, they keep the clutch hot. They keep everything in the RPM band because they'll sit there. I mean, granted, they do idle just fine. These guys have to come into the pits and do fuel changes, or if they crash, get stuck in the grass, they have to sit there and idle. But yeah, ideally, you want that thing up on the pipe the whole time. Pickup looks like that is
so 14 flat on
Takayashi.
So we'd expect to see another 13-second lap time here before this one's done. 14-1.
Takayashi, Thomas, and Collari. Andy Moore, Chavit, Robin changing around here, and that's how IFMAR qualifying goes. They'll get spaced out enough on the track that they'll make and lose ground on each other by a tenth or two and change several positions on the leaderboard with never passing a car. Takayashi starting to lay it down here. You see Thomas with a 13.9, Takayashi with that 14.1 going to hold on to the top spot, but lots of low 14s in this one so far.
Lamberto down there in the 3rd position. For those of you who are not familiar with him, we were talking about him at the top of the show here. The only person to win the Worlds more than once, has done it 9 times.
Not just once, but
9. Not just more than once, but how about 5 consecutively? And then it was Osaka and Burton who won it in 01 and 99, and Collari again for another 4 consecutive. So pretty impressive efforts there.
Years ago, right?
Yeah, his last win 2009.
Mm-hmm. 18 laps the pace now as their first 18-lap runs being shown on our leaderboard right now. And you can see why. Lots of low 14s for everybody in this heat. It is stacked separation, tenths of a second for our top few racers.
Yeah, watching the car placement here as we get up into these higher heats, a lot of cars really all 4 down into the paint, as you referred to it, down onto the curb. So really chopping these apexes off here.
2 tires seems to be the magic. Every once in a while, if they square up, maybe 4 tires through the paint, but I think maybe the paint don't have the grip that the asphalt does, so it's a balancing act. We'll see. That's Takayashi across the line, leaving the green car, dropping down to 3rd now. Collari to the top spot, but it's anybody's guess. They're only separated by tenths of a second at the front of this one. 13.94 for Collari last time by Takahashi. There was a 14.1. So we pick up Collari, working his way up that back straight hill. Coming down the roller coaster now. 18 and a 4.13. The pace comes across the line. going to quicken that just a little bit with a 14-1, maybe dropping off a nudge.
I believe that would be the first one, 18 laps, if I'm not mistaken.
They were shaving seconds off, and now they're adding laps onto the pace. So something changed here. Race number 9, the heavy hitters.
Drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming out swinging.
Yeah. Top 25% of the program here.
Yeah, I mean, in the resort situation, this would be the 9, 10, 11, 12 D-main resort. So still some very heavy hitters in the top 40. 30 seconds to go on the master clock. When that clock runs out, they're going to do 2 more laps after that, maybe 3, depending on when they cross the line. They finish at about the 4-minute on the master, or 4:30 on the master clock. Clary with another 13.9. Thomas now with a 13.9. 14.1 for Robin on his last lap. Takahashi.
Watch that green car. Kind of struggles with that final turn. Kind of goes into a 4-wheel slide there through that left-hander. Can't imagine that's the fastest way around just yet. But the rest of the corners, I mean, spot on. I mean, who am I to judge? But a couple of cars kind of driving that corner that way, though.
It is interesting. You'll see some cars that look terrible that go fast and some that look fast and go real slow. The balancing act of how hard they're pushing it. But the master gong has sounded. They got, like I said, about 2 more laps before they know their finish time. Larry with a little swerve and Mervin up that hill.
How about that? I saw that, too. Seen that a couple of times, actually.
Get on the power up there, and you're maybe along for the ride. Gentle guidance to get it back down to the apex. See there, a little bit. Kalari going to take the top spot. Thomas in the 2 spot. Our first 18-lap run of the morning, and some very fast 17s after that, all the way down to, I think, 8th, quicker than our previous fast run on a 406. So,
yeah, so heat race number 9, without question, really picked up the pace here.
Kalari there with that 18 and 413. Lorenzi, Thomas Lorenzi in the 2 spot. Robin Hertong going to finish 3rd. Luke Duthie in the 4 spot. Takanashi Kai going to finish in that 5 spot. Shavit Saligupta going to finish 6th. Takayasu Michihiro going to finish 7th. Flavio Elias in that 8th spot. Andy Moore going to finish 9th. And Mimuro Kazunari going to round out our finishing order. I'm going to make sandwiches out of names because I'm a name butcher. I'm butchering up these names.
You're not afraid to jump in, so I go with it there.
I got hired to do a race at Yatabe Arena many years ago, and then I'm like, you guys know I don't speak Japanese. Like, no, they love it. They love it when you say their names wrong. Just keep saying the names wrong.
Shimo Takaki here as we get going. Francisco Tironi. And
that's all you get.
That's all we get.
That's all you get.
Took them away. Well, like, we're going to save you right here, dude. And make those go away.
They're talking in the chat about when they started RC. I started RC when I was about 8 years old, I think. So that would have been 88, 87, long time ago. This is in Japan. This is, what was Inabe, Japan. We're just outside of Nagoya, give or take 5 or 6 hours from Tokyo.
It depends on the driver you have.
That's true.
Our driver last night from the airport, easy 4.5 hours from Tokyo, so he was on the pipe.
Mirai gets down. He has not been able to go to dinner one night of this World Championship so far because he's tasked with picking people up each and every night. He says tonight's the first night he doesn't have to go to the airport. So let's fly somebody in for Mirai to come.
I wouldn't rule that out just yet. Yeah, super good guys. Heat race number 10 of 12.
You know what, speaking of driving in Japan, I did notice that they get out of the way for the faster car here. Like, he doesn't have to wait. People just move. He doesn't flash lights. It's just, even their driving's very courteous in Japan. I like it a lot.
And yes, it's on the other side.
Yes.
The wheels on the other side.
I keep trying to get into the car on the wrong side, but there's no door.
I got in last night and was fully prepared to drive. There was nothing there.
Crossing the street's a little tricky. You got to look both ways, because you're not sure which way the car's coming from.
Yeah, because I don't know which way they're coming from. Yeah.
And you'll be going across the crosswalk. They see you, but they drive like they don't see you. So you like stop, and then they're looking at you. Like, I don't know what to do.
He goes through the toll booth, which has 2 arms, by the way, that don't move until the very last second. He does not hesitate too much.
Yeah. So the cars all have it's like Fast Pass or something. If you're in America, that you don't stop and pay anybody. That all works that way in Japan now, of course. And they come up to these things at freeway speed.
Yeah, they really do.
Hope the arms
flick up like in a split second. So they're counting on the arm to do its job.
I came years ago. Masami Hirasaka is a legend in the RC racing world. He's won dozens of world championships in the electric side of things, and he picked me up at the airport, and it was a very long drive to get back to where Itabi was, and we went through several tolls at 100 kilometers an hour. It was awesome. Sounds like warm-up has been completed. They're going to bring him in for final top-offs and tune. Yoshimo, Francesco, Masao, Silvio, Charlie P, Victor Wilk, Yokoya Shinosuke, Shimazake Shinya, Min Verjak, and Victor P. Several of these drivers race more than just A-scale on-road. Some of them are electric touring car racers. They dabble in 12-scale as well. Victor Wilk, one of those all-around drivers, as well as Mean.
Yeah, I'll have to double-check this before it's all said and done, but I think we have 7 former world champs, but in different disciplines that will be entered here over the course of the weekend.
Ooh, we might got a very clean, even start in this one. Race number 10, what would be your C main resort? Nicely spaced, Scotty. As race announcer, when you call them out, you try to get the spacing equally. It's on the driver, but it's also on the announcer.
I was just going to say, it's probably up to the guy hitting the throttle, but
I always blame the announcer or something like that, especially if they're the race director.
Keep an eye on them, already on 18-second pace here.
Yeah, and even the guys that aren't on very fast 17s, but Francesco coming out swinging with a 13.9 on his outlap. 14 flats after that for Shimazaya and Yokuya. Very quick laps to open things up, and to be expected as we work our way through the ladder.
Shimazaki also on an 18-second pace. Wow, top 4 on an 18-second lap. 18-lap pace.
Separated by nothing.
We saw 1 fall in the last heat, now 4. It's amazing how much better they get as a group when you're going 10 at a time.
So they're doing a 4:12. So I always like to guess what the fastest time of the weekend is going to be after the first round. And I think, well, we'll have to wait till after race 12 runs, because then we'll really know. Because those guys can come and shave 6 seconds off of this, no problem.
Oh, that's an amazing amount of time to cut off.
The little bit of consistency over the duration really adds up, and half a tenth every lap. Shimyo, this is going to be Francesco that we were on board with. We switch back now, I think, to Shimyo Takaki, one of the Japanese drivers. Working his way back down the roller coaster section.
See, that looked like a much more proper way of driving that final turn there.
Smooth.
Right down there in the paint. That tight 180 right-hander. We'll watch him again through this final turn. It's like a double apex turn.
Yep. Kind of late in, early out. Race 10 of 12, round number 1. I do believe there will be a short pause at the end of the round. They're going to blow the track off between rounds. Tire wear, big deal out here, so they're trying to prevent the offline dust from building up.
I was just going to say, is it a form of marbles, if you will?
Very much so. Yesterday, because they ran so many rounds without blowing off the track, a couple of the drivers were complaining to Scotty about the track conditions, that if they got offline at all, race was over. Tires are hot, so all that dust sticks to them, and it makes the car handle very poorly. So they didn't have any room to even let other racers by. So part of the competition format is to make it so that racers can get out of the way when they need to. So pretty sure they're going to try to maintenance the track between round and something like that maybe takes 5 or 10 minutes. They have several Makita leaf blowers.
Also getting down to the final minute here, and we still have four cars on an 18-lap pace.
13.8 I just saw blink on the line there. I want to say it was for Tanaka. Don't quote me.
And then, like you said, not only is it a 13.8, but then these guys are capable of putting those together back to back.
Back your 13.8 up with a 13.9. You're doing all right. Silvio there with a 13.8 his last time by. 14.2 for Francesco, 14.2 for Shimyo. Everybody's starting to equalize here. And they're pushing hard, but they don't want to push too hard. You've worked 4 minutes into it. You don't want to throw it all away in the closing stages. So there is a bit of a I guess, a mental battle to try to get those extra tenths or play it safe.
And the top two separated by a tenth of a second. Lap times right there as well.
Victor Wilk with a 13.8 from the middle of the pack. Good work, Victor.
13 hundredths of a second now. Separated by the top two. And a half second back to third.
Pace is quickening. 18s all the way down to the 7th spot right now.
That's crazy. I mean, as a group, how much better this group is. There wasn't
very many car-on-car passes out there that we witnessed beyond maybe a crash here or there, but even that, this is, that is devastator there. That is going to be some arm waving on the driver's stand.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that too much. Things can get pretty sporty up there.
It's especially at a World Championships because they tend to yell in their native tongue. And I can't tell what most of them
Might
saying.
be a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, a couple of cars. I wonder if they flamed out here. A couple of cars off to the side. Not under power.
He was already done. He called the all-stop, and there was a dead car out there. So usually means they were done the lap before. They don't like to – look at that. Moving up the ladder. Victor Wilk in the closing stages with all those 13.8s. He was down 5th or 6th through there. So top 5 drivers all going 18 laps. I want to say top 3 of them were faster than Mr. Kalari. Unofficial results there. You see Silvio Hockler with an 18 and a 4:12.6 and only 3/10 off the back after 4 minutes of A scale. Victor Wilk, nicely done, sir. Yokoyama Shinosuke going to finish 3rd, also with an 18-lap run. You see that 4:13.7 to Charlie P's 18 and a 4:13.8, so barely a 10th of a second slower. And then 18 and a 4:14 for Francesco.
Yeah, Francesco Tironi there, all inside of the top 5 there, as you talked about, with 18 laps. So very impressive group right there.
We did get a flame out on that last lap. You see Tanaka with 17 and a 3:59. That's a bummer.
As we go into our final 2 heat races.
Yep. Race 11, our B-main resort, Dominic Grenier, Carmine Rilo, Sahashi Yuya, Rick Rilyanik, Jeff Hammond, Hirano Norito, Sahashi Tadahiko, Timo Linneo, Yillis Grosskamp, and Bryce Butterfield. Bryce is from America. It's our one and only USA driver in the field.
Wow, is that it? Just one?
Yep. America just had their Roar Nationals, so I think a lot of folks spent their race budget on that. And if you don't, I guess, haven't been to Japan before, don't have an affiliate with a team that's going to take care of you, it could be pretty tricky to navigate your way around this country. So these guys working their way through their warm-up races, or warm-up laps rather. They get a 2-minute warm-up, and then they bring them in for the test and tune.
USA has not won this since 1987.
Who was that?
R. Fusco.
I did not know that. Is the original IFMAR World Championship Butch Kroll's? Is my stats still correct
from
on
the
that?
U.S.
I thought it was
held at Pomona, California.
I thought it was in 78, but he's 77?
77 is what I was,
Butch was the first example of a World Championship driver that then moved to work into the industry because he worked at Yokomo for many, many years after that. He was like team manager, all-around nice guy. So laid the groundwork for lots of us racers to start working in the industry. Still out there in their warm-up laps, dotting the T's and crossing the I's.
Marshall sitting there in the middle of the track, making a phone call.
Probably.
I don't know if it's a Marshall.
It could be his team manager calling him and telling him, good job, because that's Victor Wilk. He just laid down a hot run. Oh, he's just plugging his ear. He's not on the phone. It's super loud. Or that, or he's got the new iPhone Invisible.
Sure, it's coming out soon.
They got titanium.
Takes a heck of a picture.
Now they got invisible. I don't know about this. They'll be coming into the pit lane. I want to say this time by. Color me wrong again.
And once again, we know folks want to hear some Nat sounds. We're working on all of that.
Don't worry, it'll wear you out after the end of the
So it's kind of quiet now. Is there Nat sounds? Maybe I just don't have them in my headset.
Luckily, I don't want them. Don't give them to me. I got them all in my head all day yesterday. I laid down last night and I could hear Nitro's shifting gears. Look at the chat. Are these guys swearing in foreign languages? Is that allowed?
Oh, I promise.
Oh, no.
That's going on.
The laptop just stopped. Is it the... Oh, it's a screensaver. I'm super technically adept. I didn't know that the screensaver was on for a second.
We lost everybody on chat.
Way to go, Charlie. Green flag racing here. Race number 11, round number 1. First round of qualifying at the IFMAR World Championships from Inabe, Japan at the beautiful Infineon International RC Speedway, home of Infinity RC cars and much, much more. They have a solar farm adjacent to the field. I can feel the healing vibes of solar energy as you walk by. Give these guys a few laps to sort things out, and we will get a running order. I was talking to Timu yesterday, and he speaks very good English, so I'm asking him, what is going on with this revving of your engine? I think we're actually on track with Timu right now. His car was orange, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, why do you guys have to do all this incessant revving between every round? I figure it was to warm up before they go race. He's got no tires in the car, no body. He's not going out to run. He's like, no, the cars are so finely tuned that we need to check them each and every round so that if there's any weather change or whatever, we're not having to deal with that right before we go out. So a short time before they go to tech, they do a base check to make sure that everything's all right. Because back in my day, you could tune a motor in the morning, kind of run all day. Apparently, it's not the case anymore. They've perfected the art of making horsepower, which in turn requires a little more tinkering.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a significant change in atmospheric conditions here from this morning whenever they first went out to what they'll see here this afternoon. I mean, temperatures, you know, in the upper 50s, if you will, lower 60s, up into the middle 70s, and sun coming out. So, yeah, I would say there's a big difference there, and I'm sure those guys want to keep them crisp.
Yeah, I mean, the track, the grass is very dewy. All the plastic surfaces or seats and all that are very damp in the morning. So early runs compared to afternoon runs going to be very different just on humidity alone. Temperature, of course, comes into play as we jump on board. This, I want to say, pink car going to be Dominic. See the green light come on as he crosses the line.
Yeah, got in the throttle there, and it just kind of fanned the tail out there wide. You can see him. He's all-wheel drive cars, by the way. I don't know that we ever touched on that. I'm sure all the knowledgeable people online are certainly aware of it, but if there's some novice fans out there, they are four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive, nitro burning, 2-speed monsters of horsepower and speed.
And they have a spool in the back of them, as we talked about before. So inherently, anything with a spool does not want to turn. It creates a push.
Right.
So you've got to really set these cars up to get them to rotate.
Yeah, they actually run, they can overdrive the rear, overdrive the front, so they get very different handling characteristics that way to get the car to rotate. The super chat's probably laughing at me for even mentioning that, but it is.
Well, that was actually one of my questions. As soon as they said it was four-wheel drive, I was curious how much was it, 50-50? I mean, so like you said, you can overdrive the front or overdrive the rear depending on what you want to do.
And there's a lot of math and science that goes onto that because the front and rear tires are different diameters. So you have to have some gear ratio split there. And if your fronts wear more or less than your rears, it's going to affect that drive ratio. So you're naturally going to get some overdrive or underdrive as the race continues. They're centrifugal 2-speeds, weight-driven, and they have different weights, springs, and adjustments that they can do with those to where they engage. As we touched on earlier, if you stay along right about here, you'll hear it shift right as it crosses the line. They're in second gear, high gear if you were all the way down the straightaway, back around into the infield. I want to say they get down in the first gear through most of the infield.
Man, it's super cool to watch these guys do what they do at this level. Man, the car placement is just mind-boggling.
Very precise movements. 13.9 that last time by for Dominic Suashi with a 13.8. 14.1 for Yillis. Come on, Yillis. Yillis has been a very long-time racer.
By the way, sorry for you fans at home that are online watching. You do not get to enjoy the breeze that blows through here every now and again and the nitro fumes along with it because it's pretty awesome.
We're going to have to design smell-o-vision one day. You guys can...
It's pretty intense. You can definitely smell it. We're on the back side of the track in the booth.
Well, it's not just that. The engine revving station's not
Yeah,
that far
it's
from
right.
us,
Yeah,
too.
it's just on the other side. So
At any given time, there's probably no less than 25 engines running, all in a, pretty
Cluster.
small area over there.
As you mentioned before, a haze of smoke if we catch it just right.
When the sun gets on the other side, it gets very evident. When it's on this side, you don't notice it too much.
Lining things up here as the clock has.
Another quick time there. Look at that. Top 4 all going 18-lap runs down into the 10s. Got Dominic Grenier with a 10. Sahashi with a 11. Yilis with an 11. The other Sahashi with a 12. Rick Vernyulnik, 17 and a 4 flat. Jeff Hammond with 17 and 01. Bryce Butterfield from America, 17 and an 02, 17 and an 05 for Timo. Carmine Rilo, bit of a rough one there, was off early, as was Hirano Narito.
So 4 cars here in this heat race, the 18 laps, 5 in the last heat race. And I believe going back to Lamberto, he also had an 18-lap session. So top 10, in the 18-lap range.
We see the potential of this next heat all going 18 at this rate, because the bottom guys of the last round were doing 04s, 05s on a 17, so these guys are all at least that much quicker. So you see Simon Kurzbach, Tony Gruber, Dario Balestri, Naoto Matsukura, Tahaka Shoki, Hayato Ishiko, Andrea Katazani, Jesse Davis, Kato Koike, and Ida Masaya.
By the way, Takahata Shoki, the last champion that we had, 2019.
Fun fact.
Speaking of champions inside of the field here.
That makes him our reigning world champion.
He is the reigning world champ. And if you're asking what happened in 2021, COVID happened.
Daniel says that's the smell of real RC. This ain't no flashlight racing over here. That's what a lot of the Nitro guys call electric racing, because this is like building a campfire, starting a lantern. It's very involved, but electric racing, you put the batteries on, turn the switch, away you go.
I appreciate both, but I favor this.
This is definitely much more fun. A lot more teamwork involved. The pitman situation, the pit stops. I mean, I grew up watching NASCAR and IMSA and SCCA racing, and I mean, racing ain't racing without pit stops. Anybody
and some say without sound, although the electric cars do make some sound. So.
They make funny sounds now. I had to go down to San Diego. I got a rental car, and it was a hybrid. And when you drove it around, when the electric part was going, it made all these weird noises from outside. Because apparently people get run over because they can't.
Well, in RC cars, I think it's really the gearing that you're hearing, but they do make some sound. Yeah, trying to watch the electric open wheel cars can be a bit difficult sometimes.
Sounds like a bunch of power drills running. I just got back from the IFMAR 10-scale electric off-road worlds that was in Hobby Action in Arizona, and they did 2 weeks of racing. It was, I think, 4 days of two-wheel drive and 4 days of four-wheel drive, but it did get a little wearing by the end of the weekend of all the drill motor sounds sitting in the room. But anything does after a week.
Watching some of these cars here as we get up to this level, you can almost see how the car itself just looks free. I'm not going to say loose, but it looks free. Like they just kind of float through the turns. They're gripped up where they need them to be, and if they want to drive them a little bit harder to get the thing to float or slide just a little bit. I say that, I don't know how much they're actually sliding, but the car's free, so it keeps its momentum up through the center of the turn.
It allows it to rotate and point the nose in the right direction for the next corner when they need to. But I'd say you're absolutely right. Even at the fastest levels, they'll look stuck, but not that stuck, because they have to balance the front and rear grip, if you will. And a lot of times, like I said, as the tire change, the tire sizes and things like that, the ride height will change. Even the wear on the tire with the camber cone effect that happened, they'll get a lot quicker towards the end. So even how hard the guy needs to drive the car to get it to do what it needs to do, they can burn through the tires too quickly, wear them out faster than they want to, and kind of run out of tire before the end of the run. Maybe not in a qualifier, but definitely during the mains will be the balancing act. Top seeds here, race number 12, rolling out for round number 1 of qualifying at the 2023 IFMAR Nitro On-Road World Championships at Infinity International RC Raceway in Anabe, Japan.
Pretty good gapping there, and wow, just visually, for some reason, these things look even faster.
They're going to come out on 13.8. Somebody's going to come out swinging on their outlap. Maybe a 13.7.
That's down the back straightaway there. Obviously, that is the final turn there, coming back in front of the driver's stand. That's a good look. That one was a little bit loose. When I was talking about free, that looked actually a bit loose, but nice and free right there. That was a beautiful turn.
13.7 out of Great Britain's Jesse D.
Throwing it down.
Puts it to the top of the leaderboard.
Good call there.
18 and a 4.09, the early pace right now, but that is going to change. We jump on board with Simon here, red and yellow, working his way through the center section of the track, climbing up the hill. Back into our roller coaster section. Check swing there, double apex, nice and clean across the line. Simon on the 4:10 pace right now. A little bit of a rotation there, just off the paint.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a little bit high on that right-hander.
Working
back down there at the bottom.
Simon with another 13.9 that time by. Pick up, looks like D. Jesse here, probably going to be second in line, maybe first in line. Nice straight lines there, climbing up the hill, moving to that outside to make the late apex.
Yeah, and getting to the level here where the car in front, the car behind will probably not flinch.
Working hard, yeah. You see that, and that's why they don't let them by too early. A little bobble like that, it'll kind of jam you both up. So they make sure they get right on top of them.
Yeah, you give it up, and then they make a little mistake, and you're like, man, I lost and he lost.
It can be a very frustrating situation, and more so, a lot of times you get stuck in a battle with a guy. That'll happen a couple times. You're just up there yelling at each other through the air on the driver's stand. Come on, guy.
Well, I think their lap times, their speed's so close, it's hard to give it up whenever you're doing as good as you can do.
Top 8 drivers on an 18-lap run right now, with the 9th driver knocking on the door. And it looks like Matsukura, with a tough break there, was off the track early after checking in with a 13.8. Matsukura, back on the track now, my bad, but it looks like he did have a grass experience.
The reigning champ, Takahata Shoki, now bumping up from 5th to 4th, falls back down to 5th. 13.8 for a lap time. He's in that 18-lap range, and I'll take a look at where he's at there.
We're still dealing here with, I want to say that was Jesse in some lap traffic. And drop back now to the red and white. That is Mr. Simon from the medical state of Switzerland. Because it looks like a medical state.
Yes, red flag.
The super brain's laughing. They're all laughing at their keyboards very hard right now. Simon across the line that last time by. Still just a 10th off of our leader with Dario Balestri, both on an 09 pace right now. Separation only 0.3. Tahaka on a 4:10, also a 4:10 for Ishioka. 40 seconds on our master clock means these guys only have about 5 laps left to make it count. Balestri with a 13.7 across the line that last time by. On the gas, going fast right now. 0.8 the pace as it continues to quicken. 2 full seconds quicker than our previous round. 13.7. Simon with a 13.6. 13.8 for Ishoka.
Wow.
13.8 for Tony G. 14 flat for Jesse, all the way down to that 5th spot now. Jesse led early on, had a couple rough laps, dropped him way down the ladder as Balestri and Simon started picking up the pace. Simon now back to the top spot in the closing stage as we jump on board. I believe that is Balestri in the pink. Nice and tight lines across there. They streak across. Still got maybe another lap to go. Oh, we see a flame out there.
Yep.
I think that was Simon's car.
At the very end.
Maybe running out of the go-go juice, but he may have been done the lap before. Sometimes that does happen depending.
Takahata Shoki, by the way, falling out of the top 3.
Ooh.
Down into 9th.
16.6 lap time will do it for you, giving his competitors 3 seconds back. It looks like, running out of gas on the outlap at least. I'll take that. So Balestri, Jesse, and Tony going to be our top 3. It looks like maybe that was Simon running out of gas. You see somebody at the top of the hill all out of gas. Balestri setting the TQ time for round number 1, 18 and a 4:08. Jesse Davis going 18 and a 4:10. Tony Gruber going 18 and a 4:11. Kato Koike going 18 and a 4:11 as well. Simon Kurzball going 17 out of gas, 3:54. 02 and a 17 for Andrea Cantanazani. Jeez. Matsukura Naoto going 17 and a 4:10. Ishioka Hayatu, all rough one there, 16 and a 3:45 running out of gas. Takahata also running out of gas, 16 and a 3:55. And Ida Masaya only going 16 and a 4:01. That is a rough one for race number 12 seeding.
So that is speed in there. Unfortunately, things did not work out the way someone wanted them to.
Looks like that is going to do it for round number 1 of qualifying. I believe they are going to do a track maintenance. They're going to blow some of the dust off. Make sure the race line has lots of room for lap traffic to get out of the leader's way.
Typical between round maintenance would consist of what?
Just blowing off the track for the most part. They just.
I mean, for the guys with the cars?
Oh, anywhere from a full rebuild to minor checks and balances where they just go over the car, check camber, check caster, make sure nothing came loose if there was a crash or not type of deal. Most of these guys, for setup-wise, they're not going to do too many wholesale changes, just some little stuff for second-run tires, or maybe they're going to plan on running fresh tires again. Good night, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in, sir. I waved at the chat like he could see me.
You never know.
But we'll get you an update here on some more of those mystery pieces of information. For example, how many total rounds of qualifying, how many of them count, if it's actually qual points. It's definitely qual points. Like IFMAR invented that, I think. And as you see there, it starts local time 11:15. The time is now 10:50, so you have about a 25-minute break. And I think we're going to take that opportunity to go answer some questions, take in the view, and not sit in this oh-so-comfortable chair.
Yeah.
Savage Rob, sunny and 70s is the forecast. In the morning, it's a little bit overcast, a little bit almost on the cold side. It's sweater weather, as I call it. Tony First says 3 of 6 qualifying points. My brother, he says 9 more days. My brother's coming to town to visit me after I get back from this. That's why I'm not staying for vacation. Thanks, little brother. Thanks, Daniel. We'll see you tomorrow, right? You'll be back. So Tony says 3 of 6 qualifying points. Tony, do you know how many rounds we're running today? Is it 3 or 4?
That's somebody that's not here.
Yeah,
I think there was a full description on there.
It's
and
posted.
The rule book, so
it's posted
somewhere for sure.
This is my shtick. I pretend I don't know. I totally know all of the answers. I'm just pretending to be dumb.
Let's see if they're paying attention. See if they're reading.
They
if
do.
They're keeping up with us.
The one that always gets me, there is a little bit of a tape delay before they hear us to win the chat. The chat is instantaneous, but they don't hear us instantaneously. Of all the technology in the world, live streaming still has a few second delay, no matter how many gigabytes of internet you have.
Great to have them out there watching and joining us here. Great stuff for sure. 8th Scale International Federation of Model Auto Racing, IFMAR World Championships in Japan, of course. Infinity International RC Speedway. We're in Anabe, just outside of Nagoya in Japan.
The chat just asked that question. Total perfect segue. You're a professional, aren't you? You weren't looking. He wasn't looking at the
dumb luck
chat.
is what that is.
He wasn't looking at the chat.
Charlie Suenka is sitting right alongside. I'm Ken Stout. Scotty Ernst is also our race director. He'll be helping us out on the broadcast as well. But Scotty doing race director things here today.
Scotty committed. He's a man of his word. He committed to being the race announcer for the track and whatever else they needed him to do. When he showed up, they're like, oh, well, you're actually the race director, not the race announcer, which is a much worse task. You have to do official organizing, scheduling, rules.
Yeah, you probably have to make people not so happy sometimes.
Make decisions. It's a terrible thing. Jesse Davis is from Australia, not Great Britain. Thank you, Tony. I don't know my flags that well sometimes. I am an ignoramus on many topics, current events, and maybe common knowledge to a lot of people. Jay Shahan from Homestead, Florida, home of HRCR. I was in Homestead for a world championship many years ago. Matt Hartley, welcome to the show. Thank you, sir. We appreciate everybody tuning in.
A lot of great racing down there at Homestead.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, folks. We will be back in, like I said, 11:15, so give or take 15 to 20-ish minutes. We'll be back right here on liverc.com to bring you nonstop coverage of the 2023 IFMAR A-Scale On-Road World Championships from Infinity International RC Speedway in Anabe, Japan.